Takes a second to start. There we go. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the third episode of Welcome to the Foxxhole. I am Purple Pat, and with me tonight I have Sly Fox.
What's happening, buddy?
What's happening, buddy? So tonight we are going to talk about assassinations and American assassinations, and we will probably derail off that multiple times and go into whatever the hell we're talking about. Per the direction of the channel, that's what we do. So the first thing we want to talk about tonight is we're going to go kind of in chronological order. We're going to talk about Lincoln, we're going to talk about JFK, and then we're going to talk about modern day assassinations or assassination attempts. So first we're going to talk about Lincoln, and I want to transfer this to my homie Sly Fox, because we all studied history, we all did our history books and all that kind of thing, but what do you think that the Lincoln assassination was really about?
No, I've seen over the years different documentaries about it, and the general story is pretty much it. John Wilkes Booth did it. We know he did it. Where the story kind of gets skewed is why he did it, why he was chosen, who he was working for, all the various things that go with that. But it's funny. You ever watch Y-Files with AJ Gentile?
I do not.
It's really good. You watch a lot of YouTube. Y-Files is pretty good. He goes, he puts out the story, whatever, all the things that go with it, and then he goes to debunking it or like confirming this actually happened, this didn't happen, or whatever. And then pretty much at the end, he leaves it up to obviously the audience to decide. Right. So I was watching an episode the other day about John Wilkes Booth and how it probably wasn't him that they found burned in the or like when that barn fire, when they trapped him or whatever.
They Frankensteined him.
He did get shot. He did get injured in that shootout, but it wasn't him that got killed. Long story short, there's a paper trail of a man that basically was like on his deathbed. Yeah, I'm John Wilkes Booth. Yeah, this is what happened. This was my story. I went from here to here to here. Da 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 da. Whatever. So it from the looks of it, he pretty much lived a good, healthy life. Like he died at a pretty decent fucking age.
Interesting. So when we talk about the Abraham Lincoln assassination, it was post-emancipation, so it's not like he could have stopped that from happening. I mean, what ended up being, the core cause or the core root of why he said that he assassinated President Lincoln?
Well, it wasn't even so much that he said that he was going to do it, so much as that he was the perfect person for the job. He was disgruntled already, but he was also like the first famous actor. He was the first person also to be like his clothes got torn because like women were chasing him down and shit. Like he was like the first like celebrity. So it wasn't nobody batted an eye when he's going through the side door of this theater, which he has performed at before. He was very familiar with the internal workings of this theater. Nobody batted an eye when he goes up to the to the balcony. Maybe he's gonna say something to the VIPs or the president or whoever's up there. Nobody thought anything of it until he did it.
I mean, literally the perfect hitman. He knows the area. He knows the people. People know him. Nobody's going to look at him, and bang.
Well, it's got the perfect excuse too. It's the perfect excuse for being in the area.
Yeah. You can see over the years, and even back then, how assassins come to be. Like when we're going to talk about the new ones here coming up, it's almost the same story every time. They find someone who's disgruntled, that's already angry. They teach him how to shoot, or they teach him how to, move like that. But they're people that nobody would look at for a reason. So they kind of pick these people based on, like you say, he's disgruntled and he already has a beef. So you find these people that already have beefs with people, and it doesn't take much to push them over the edge if they're in that kind of mental state.
Well, which is where we move right into JFK. I mean, we're moving a little quick, but I mean,
it's okay.
With Lincoln, it's, it is what it is. We already know. But with JFK, I mean, Oswald, let me ask you just flat out, do you think Oswald took any shots at all?
If you would have asked me that, the year that happened, I would have said, yeah, of course he killed him. If you ask me that now, knowing how, I'm going to say, the government does things, I would have to take a much more critical look at it, because I just don't trust the information that comes out at all.
Yeah, I mean, it's everything about it, from like the whole magic bullet thing and the missing frames from the Zapruder film and all this stuff. You know, who the fuck was the babushka lady? We never figured out who that was. We never
No.
got the footage from the guy standing next to her. That's never been seen, which is odd. But I
Yeah,
don't know.
one
It's kind
angle.
of, well, it's kind of funny too that they released all these JFK files, but redacted everything that had to do with Mossad's involvement. Which, you know,
Oh,
again, we know how
we're
that goes.
already on Mossad.
We're already on it. We're already on it. It doesn't take much digging to get there, but here we are. I'll let our audience consider who I'm talking about. But you know,
Yeah, of course. Before we move on, real quick, Sly, I would like you to move your phone camera to the right just a tad to center yourself up a little more.
I'm not centering myself. I got a partner with me.
Oh, that's fair. Oh, Zach Skellington.
Zach Skellington is here.
Rip Zach Skellington.
Zach Skellington. For
Yeah.
we're gonna sidetrack a little bit. For those who don't know about Zach
Yes.
Skellington, Zach was my brother. He committed the big redaction of himself, and lives his memory lives on. He's what brought a lot of us together during the Zach Initiative. A lot of the Boogaloo pages. After the purge, everybody was scattered to the wind.
Yes.
Gray Man helped me out with this, and a lot of the other boys, and now here we are a couple years later, and
And the fact is, too, I wouldn't know Sly Fox if it wasn't for Zach Skellington, because it started when I started. I was talking shit to nobody. This really clicked. Nobody knows Zach, anyways. But I was talking shit about his girlfriend on Facebook, and he got pissed off, and that's when Kurt jumped in, and that's like 22 years ago. So, yeah, Zach was a friend of mine too. A real good friend with his brother Tony. So, rip Zach.
yeah, rip Zach Skellington. Without his loss, a lot of us would probably still be scattered to the wind. So there's that. So he sits next to me. That's my partner on my end of the stream.
Yes, sir. So back into the topic. We were on the JFK assassination. No, Kurt, I don't. Sly, God bless it. I'm gonna. Oh, oh. I
It's
don't
$40
believe.
to the Church
I
of
know
Satan.
it's 40. No, 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 no. He's not even allowed to come on tonight. We're not going to have any like Satan conventions on tonight. Um, why do people consider the babushka lady a critical part of the investigation? I mean, it just looks like she was there taking pictures.
Yeah, and if she's there taking pictures, why don't we know her name? Why don't we have those pictures? Why she's literally got the best angle of the grassy knoll and of JFK as he passes by. Now on that subject though, why Daily Plaza? That is like the perfect, if you're running Secret Service and your threat assessment for where the president's motorcade is going to be driving by super slowly. I mean, you set that man up for failure. You absolutely set him up for failure. Now,
Yeah,
there's correlations to that with the Trump attempt assassination. We'll get to that a little bit later. But yeah, I think that Oswald was not only a patsy. I think he did fire at least one or two shots. I
just
don't
to
think
have
he
shots
fired.
fired. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't think he fired the fatal rounds, and I don't think no, I'm forgetting something. There's a detail that I'm forgetting. There was a documentary on Discovery Channel that I saw probably easily 20 years ago. So they had a guy that was the same height, build, weight, and like everything as Oswald, right? They had him go up to the top, up to the floor where they took the shots from. They simulated the whole thing. He took the shots, hid the rifle where they found it in the pictures, where the FBI or whoever the fuck found the rifle said they found it, and went down like the 5 or 6 flights of stairs to the office break room
hmm,
where he was found when the police got there. So when the guy did all of this in that time frame that they said Oswald did it, he was fucking sweating. He was out of breath. This is a fit guy. He's still, that's 6 flights of stairs, a high stress environment. You're trying to hide the rifle. You know what I mean? So when they would have got to him, he would have been sweating. He would have been at least showing some kind of signs of wear and tear. You know what I mean? But when they found Oswald, he was, for the most part, calm, cool, collected.
yeah. And let's not forget the classic government move of what happened to Oswald post that shooting. He was shot himself.
Yeah, what's more interesting than what happens to Oswald is what happened to Jack Ruby. Are you familiar with
Yes,
what happened to Jack Ruby?
yes, but go ahead and go into that real quick because I'm sure a
So
lot of
we
people
all
don't
we all
understand
know that Jack Ruby, being for all intents and purposes the perfect chain of events. He was at the post office. It was taking too long. He said, "Fuck it." He walks down the street, notices that that's the perp walk going on, and takes his shot. That's the story. That's what they say. Now, the interesting part to me is what happened after that. Jack Ruby never sees a sentencing. He never makes it past going to jail. He got visited by one of the people that worked for the CIA at the time, and was one of the founding members of the MK Ultra program. Afterwards, he lost his shit. He was literally like, in my opinion, they definitely dosed him with a good, high, heavy, MK Ultra dose of LSD, because he
Yep.
started ranting about the shadow people and the walls and all this crazy shit, like the kind of things that you would think a crazy person would rant about.
Exactly.
But they dosed him, and they sent him on a trip that he never came back from, and then then he died. So
Which is
that's
another
the end
good
of
point,
that.
because I forgot part of the topic tonight. It is assassinations, but part of that assassination topic that we were going to cover tonight is MK Ultra. So we're going to discuss a lot. We're not going to say, exact facts like this was MK Ultra, this is what they did, but we're going to tie into how the MK Ultra worked and how they used it, and then try to apply it to like modern day assassinations and things like that, because you're going to see a lot of correlations overall.
Yeah, and I think we all laugh about MK Ultra, and it's everything we know about it is the stuff that they've released, and everything we know about it is the stuff that nobody went to jail for. And and the old adage goes, I can give you 10 things that the CIA actually is on record doing, and then tell you, 0 people that went to jail for it.
Exactly.
You ever see Naked Gun?
Of course.
Okay, so I think that's exactly it. I think what they did was the same thing they did with the alien thing. You slow drip these things through media, movies, TV shows. That way, when people say, "Oh, this might have been what happened here," no, you're a fucking idiot. It's from a movie.
Yeah,
When
it's
in
how they always
reality,
use it.
exactly, in reality, that's exactly what fucking happened. Because in that movie, for those who've never seen it, the shadow government, for lack of a better term, uses hypnosis on these people, and then they say a trigger phrase, and they go and take out their target, and then they do it themselves.
Yeah.
And it's proof of concept, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, and I agree. When you go to MK Ultra in the '60s, it was all about the beginning of MK Ultra. Like I said, mind control. They wanted to see what kind of drugs and what kind of hypnosis and things like that they could use to break someone's psyche in order to control it. That's how it was back in the day. Current day, they don't have to use LSD or drugs anymore. They got propaganda machines. They have Facebook. They have Twitter. They have YouTube. They know how to get into these people's lives and just feed them information like a clockwork orange. It's in my opinion, MK Ultra still exists on the population nowadays, not just the individuals that they tap.
Well, they stopped the act, or they ended the act and never renewed it, that forbade using propaganda on the American public.
Yep.
Now, when it comes to modern day MK Ultra, my favorite thing is the fact that with any of these shooters, mass shooters, public shooter, whoever, we never get a tox screen. We never get that blood work released. And I think wholeheartedly, it's the SSRIs and antidepressants and stuff like that.
Now, I've been on,
Lithium and all these things that they have people on.
well, I wouldn't go that far. I know plenty of people that are on SSRIs that aren't lunatics, myself included. What do you specifically state about the SSRIs? That is it just that it turns people into zombies type of thing?
Well, it makes you more susceptible to everything. It makes you more susceptible to suggestion. And if you're already in a weakened mental state and you already have these feelings, and now you've got somebody that's validating those feelings and telling, hey, it's okay to feel this way. I feel this way too. Maybe we should do something about it. Maybe you should do something about it, but I'll help you out. I got supplies. You got to do it though. I'll be your support, but we can do this together.
When you say
that's what they do. That's what they thrive on.
Well, when you say that, that's almost the exact idea of demonic possession as well. You have to be in a weakened state. Your guard has to be down. You have to be a person that is not very, strong in your beliefs and things like that. And you're just kind of this guy walking around. Like you said, if you don't have your guard up and you don't have your armor on at all times, I'm not talking about just demonic possession, but mind control too. You have to be aware of the fact that they are trying to do this so you can notice it when it happens.
Yeah, and it goes into play with a lot of things that happen right now. I consider myself an agent of balance. It's easy to fall into echo chambers. It's easy to everybody feels the same way. You know, the
Yep.
media puts out these horrible things, these horrible events that happen, and everybody obviously is going to be shocked by it, especially when there's footage of it, especially when they release that footage of it. You're going to be shocked by it, and it's going to be a thing that God damn it, I can't remember the name of what it's called, but it's almost like trauma bonding. It's what they're doing to people now, and it's like a, you know, every
Yeah.
other day you hear about some horrible fucking thing.
Well, and that whole idea and process started on 9/11. So before 9/11, we didn't have a 24-hour news cycle, a 24-hour reaction cycle, is like I like to call it. When 9/11 happened, that's when they stuck on the TV one event, one bad event, and they just ran it for a month straight, basically. So a lot of these things, when we're talking about shooters and things like that, I do believe that a lot of these wouldn't happen if they didn't celebritize the first shooter. So we'll go back to Aurora when the Batman shooting, the guy with the orange hair. I forgot his name.
See, I don't think he did it because it's not the same guy that they picked up that was in court.
No, but my point is on that is that they published that story and they ran with it for like 2 months straight. Every single day you heard about it. When you saw him in court, what did he look like? He looked like somebody just fed him about 1,000 milligrams of Valium and he was just sitting there drooling on himself, completely drugged up in court.
So I'll raise you. What I've noticed is that whenever there's a particular style of mass shooting, what comes and follows magically, what comes and follows almost directly after is drawn up legislation for gun bans or restrictions. What happened here with Highland Park? This Highland Park was kind of close to me. With it's a decent drive. It's close enough to where that day that the Highland Park shooting happened, where there's a 4th of July parade, I was going to take my son to it. We said, fuck it, we're just not going to go. It's it's a far enough drive to where it wasn't really worth it. But I'm kind of glad we didn't go, obviously. But when it comes to that guy, he apparently dressed in drag to hide himself after leaving his shooting position.
Yep.
He had gotten in his car going into Wisconsin, where he had a second location planned to commit the same act.
Really?
Now, and that's kind of the thing that people don't understand, because it kind of got lost in the news, is he had a whole plan. He had multiple locations. This was multiple soft target locations. These were going to be mass casualty events, and nobody had looked into why he got away with that. And he had already been banned from owning firearms. His father was a prominent member in the Highland Park, community, like not like a mayor, but something like that.
Yeah.
And his father was the reason he had the firearms in the first place. He co-signed for him, and he ended up getting in trouble for that as well.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the kid had already had mental issues, man. He already had violence issues. The police had already came to the house like a year before, took all his knives and all his stuff because he threatened to kill his family. Like, he already was on record of having problems.
And that's an interesting thing too. Just a side note, like when you fill out your 4473, for your buying your guns, I think that's the number. It states on there. Yeah, there's a checkbox on there, because I've filled out at least 30 of these things. I don't have 30 guns, people. I don't have any guns anymore. They fell off the back of my car on the way to work yesterday. So, anyways, there's a box on there that you check that says, have you ever been diagnosed or hospitalized, I believe it says, for any kind of mental illness? So what are you supposed to put on there? Because, I mean, if you're, schizophrenic and things like that, you're not going to check the box. It's a very, I wouldn't call it a loophole, but at the same time, that information is between you and your doctor. So, like, how do you change the 4473 process to actually, and let me state real quick, Second Amendment or die, people. I believe everyone has their right to own firearms, and you should not have to pay anybody to use those firearms or fill out any paperwork. But we do have paperwork. Is there anything we could possibly do to that process to, weed out some of these people that are obviously crazy? And I know that's up to the gun store employees as well. If they feel like a person is, out of their mind or is not safe to take home a gun, they do that as well.
Well, I think a lot of that responsibility does fall on the gun store itself. But here, being the 21st century, I do gun auction stuff. You can get the shit online, send it to your FFL, fill out the paperwork, and it's that fucking easy. You could have it within a week. But I think with the 4473, I think that's probably about as much compliance as I'm willing to comply with. I don't think anything. I don't think anything more of it. You are taking the legal responsibility of filling out this paperwork to your, to your full integrity. And if something does happen, well, hey, you checked wrong on that box. You shouldn't have done it in the first place. Now that's
Yeah.
a felony. Now you have extra problems because you're already in trouble.
Yeah. And don't forget straw purchases by me going into a gun store, filling out the 4473 for myself, then walking outside and selling it to some guy. There's not
Yeah,
really.
we get a lot of that here. A lot of girlfriends going out and getting their boyfriends a Draco and stuff like
Yep.
that. I mean, they can't do that stuff now. Nowadays it's Glocks and like the Glock 43 and stuff like that.
Yeah, which
But
proves that the checking process doesn't work at all. I'd rather just have it how it is in my home state of Indiana, where if I have a pistol or a rifle and somebody wants to buy that rifle, I walk up to them, they hand me cash, I give them gun, they go home. Now then it's up to me to see this guy's not psychotic, but at the same time, like we talk about with the Constitution, it's the law of the land, or it should be. There should be no infringements on the ability to arm yourself. Now that does land in some hot water when the wrong people have guns, but the wrong people are going to have guns anyways. Look at Chicago, the most strictest country or city in the USA for gun laws. Everybody has guns. So
yep.
and
And it's just a way of life, and I think it's tantamount to the Wild West. You're a lot more of a polite society if you're an armed society. I know I'm on my best behavior when I do run around packing, and I know if I'm in the ghetto or if I'm doing whatever to go get some good fucking ribs. Like I'm polite. I don't cause problems. I don't try to start shit. You know what I mean? And even if somebody's walking around like they look like they're on some shit, oh, hey, how's it going, man?
yeah,
What's up? How's your day? I go outwardly and be more polite in an armed society versus, maybe out here in the burbs, I might be more of an asshole in public because, hey, the fuck you gonna do? You gonna kick my ass? You know what I mean? You're
yeah.
less likely to get shot out here. But
Well, and that's just a
it,
gun thing in general. Like if you put a gun on yourself and it's for defense as it should be, one of your main priorities is avoiding situations or avoiding areas where you think you might get into some shit.
well, period.
So
And I think
yeah,
that's one of the things that people don't realize. When you choose to carry a gun, you're choosing to have the option to take somebody's life with
yes,
ease. And in not accepting that as not accepting the gravity of that, and you get people that pull their gun in public for no fucking reason or over the smallest little thing.
yep.
But
So
I think when it comes down, when we get back to the whole assassination thing and like the MK Ultra thing, you can't tell me that the FBI is that incompetent and competent at the same time.
right,
It doesn't work that way.
no. Um, Along with that, because a lot of people lately is with the Charlie Kirk shooting, Rip Charlie Kirk, they're blaming the FBI. They're like, oh, the FBI is, they're fumbling the investigation, they're inept and things like that. But you got to understand too with this kind of thing, the FBI is not the top of the food chain for investigations and crimes. They're marked as that in public, but they work for the CIA. They work for the federal government. So if somebody above them is trying to do something in some kind of manner, some kind of sneaky manner, they have to go along with that shit. It's like I tell people all the time, you get mad at President Trump for everything wrong in the government and mad at President Biden or whoever, but they don't realize that there's an army of sons of bitches underneath them that are actually doing the work. So in the FBI's case, there's an army of motherfuckers above them telling them that they don't, whatever evidence you have that would make this look like the government did it, you have to suppress that. So make some shit up on TV kind of thing.
Yeah, they can call it a matter of national security or whatever they want to say. But when the FBI is going to blatantly lie and say that Thomas Crooks had no internet presence at all, but Tucker Carlson can hire a private investigator and investigate for 6 months and find a whole treasure trove of evidence
What does
from the
that tell
kid's
you?
YouTube account.
What does that tell you?
It's a little fucking odd. It's a
Well,
little odd.
it should tell you that Tucker Carlson's clearance is above the FBI.
Well, you don't need clearance though. If all it took was hiring a private investigator.
Yeah, but
If that's all it
can't,
took.
if the FBI is saying they can't even get this information for some reason, that means Tucker would be classified above them as far as information.
You're assuming that the FBI wasn't lying. You're assuming
They
that
are lying. They're lying every day. That's my point.
right.
Is they lie.
They had the information. There's no way that they didn't have Thomas Crooks's YouTube account, which was linked to his Gmail account, which was linked to everything. There's no fucking way the FBI didn't have it. My point.
That goes to my point that they have handlers above them, because I know that the FBI lies all day. Cash Patel doesn't even lie well. He's a terrible liar.
I mean, if you want, I'll break down the whole Thomas Crooks thing right now. Like,
Yeah,
we
we're
can
going
do.
into it.
We can,
We're going
yeah, I
into
was
it.
like, we can jump forward if you want.
Actually,
Shit.
we should jump on that right now because we're off the JFK, we're off the Lincoln, we're into modern day assassinations, and unfortunately, two of our examples are in the last 2 years. So, or in the last year. I'm sorry, the last year. So we're gonna bring up Thomas Crooks real quick for a quick
So
intro.
for this one, man, we're gonna start back. We're gonna backtrack here. We're gonna go from the planning of Trump's rally,
Yes.
and we're gonna go backwards into Thomas Crooks. All right. So with the planning of this rally, open field, buildings around it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now I've seen the security map from the Secret Service. They released that shortly after the shooting. There is a solid pie slice taking out
I was gonna say,
of unchecked shit, which is that rooftop that Thomas Crooks was sitting at.
yeah, I was gonna say,
Okay,
yeah, if you go to
whatever.
the
They said,
overhead thing, there's like a little
yep,
triangle cutout. It's funny as
yep.
shit. I mean, it's not funny,
And
but
they
it's
said
hilarious.
they said because that roof is too slanted, it wasn't safe for have Secret Service personnel up there.
Although
We
they
all
were
saw the
walking
roof. It
fine,
wasn't that.
yeah,
Yeah, we all saw them up there. The guy was standing there with the hose afterwards, hosing the shit down. Like, shut
yeah.
the fuck up, guys. Like, come on. But so they cut that out. Okay, sure, whatever. Now, let me ask you, how many of those Trump rallies during that summer did you see televised on ABC, CNN, broadcasted live?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
How many of those Trump rallies over that summer did you see
Oh yeah,
broadcasted live?
there
None.
were a couple, but they were all
No,
indoors. Was
they
there a
were not
couple
live.
indoors? Oh,
Nope. Those
live,
all the
live on
footage that they
TV,
showed was from people's cell phones or from the Trump
recordings.
administration themselves, or whatever.
Yeah,
Those are all recordings.
yeah,
This one had three of the five major news outlets had cameras there at
yeah.
some hick ass town in Pennsylvania with 200 fucking people.
And make no
That's a little
mistake,
odd.
Donald Trump was supposed to die that day.
Yeah, that wasn't this. Then this is leading into that. So I firmly believe that everything was supposed to go this way, right? Now Thomas Crooks has spent the last 10 fucking years being told Donald Trump's a fucking the worst person ever. Now it's really funny because when they go back through the history of his comments on YouTube, this kid writes fucking paragraphs, right? He is in comment sections like I'm in comment sections on Facebook. All right. So when he's talking about these things, he's talking about, Trump's going to save America, this, that, and the third. So when they were talking about him being a right-wing person, he started that way.
Yeah, he did.
All the way up until COVID.
Yep.
COVID, he took this fucking paradigm shift that Trump's, destroying America, all these things, whatever.
Do you even
And
think
he was,
that was his Facebook account anymore? Because that's my concern. I don't think at some point I believe like these people, they get into this situation where the FBI and the CIA picked him, they tapped him for this mission, and I think it almost seems like based on reading something that he posted before and reading something that he posted after, it's almost like two different people.
so he wasn't there yet. So he, from that point where he starts shifting against Trump and against the Republicans and whatever, he starts talking about like actionable things. He starts talking about assassinating like Ilhan Omar and how the only thing that's going to change this country is a bullet and all this
Yep.
wild shit, like actionable fucking things, right?
Yes.
So somebody eventually comments back and he has a conversation with this person. This person's page goes to, which I don't remember the name off the top of my head. If you want to watch the Tucker Carlson thing about it, it came out last week.
I did
Yeah,
watch
it's
it.
really fucking good. The guy was linked to some Norwegian white nationalist fucking group, which is the exact thing that the FBI uses. They particularly use white nationalist groups because it's the easiest. It's all white guys that work for the FBI.
And it's the narrative they want to push. I mean,
and it's the narrative that we're going to push.
Yeah, they won a
right.
civil war, so they know that the right by itself, and this is just a side note, given how the right acts and given what our morals are and things like that, we don't shoot first. We don't go out and attack people. We don't hunt people down to shoot them and things like that. It's always defense. So in order for like a civil war, a civil conflict to happen, the media has to put it out there that yes, the right wing is now attacking people. So this is what they do. It kind of fuels the fire, even though it's not actually happening.
Right. So after he got in touch or was commenting with this page or this other YouTube account, they stop. All Thomas Crooks comments stop. He starts using an encrypted email service that is based in Germany. He starts using all this other shit. Now, I find that odd. Why would you be doing that? Why would you all of a sudden stop unless you're communicating with this person? Now, there is an interview on Sean Ryan's show with a former federal FBI investigator who kind of outlines their whole operations. Now, I remember because he talks about the Boogaloo and their white supremacists, this and the third. I'm like, dude, fuck yourself. The one group that he penetrated of Boogaloo boys, quote quote, were white supremacists that were just trying to use it as the excuse to be pieces of shit.
Yeah.
But what he said they do is they do exactly that. They create accounts on social media. They go through comment sections. They poke and prod people. They judge how actionable you're going to be. They message you privately and start talking to you. And then if they don't think it's going to go anywhere, they move on to the next guy.
Yeah.
And until they get a bite, and then they go from there. And then that's how these people build their career. They build their career on entrapping people, making them make stupid moves, and then arresting you on top of it. Just like those guys in Michigan that were going to kidnap the fucking governor. 12 out of the 15 people were feds.
Yeah. Well, not to mention the detail that they put on Trump that day for the FBI was almost like, low.
They were second string.
Yeah, they were Mo, Larry, and Curly. That they might have got hired the week before because they were terrible.
Yeah, they were desk jockeys. They weren't even like regular like field operatives, because all the regular field operatives were with Biden on his campaign because he was the sitting president at the time.
And they also didn't want to get anybody that's actually good at their job supposedly fired, because they knew at that event, because of how it was set up and how bad that it was like actually defended in terms of like pre-planning and things like that. They knew somebody was going to get fired regardless, so they wanted to get somebody in there that they could fire and nobody would care about. I mean, Comey got fired as well, but...
So you've got Thomas Crooks. He's made these threats online. He's been contacted by some white nationalist group. He goes dark, starts using encrypted emails. Now, there was a report that came out that was using the ad ID, which is specifically to you, your cell phone, your Gmail is all, your ad ID is you as a person. It's basically your digital social security number. When somebody was doing a look from Thomas Crooks's house for ad ID searches, they found that one particular ad ID that was at his house frequently was also frequently to a building across the street from the FBI office, the closest FBI office to him, which is kind of odd. They also frequented the same gun range. Now, in the investigation, they have footage of Crooks at the gun range, but they won't release it. Why won't they release it? Why can't we see who he was going shooting with?
Yeah, the only videos I think we had initially, this is way before Tucker put this together, we had those videos of him in his room, like squaring up with his pistol and things like that. We had those, but those didn't really tell you anything. I mean, anybody could have, you got nerds on TikTok all day.
What was telling about those videos was all the targets that were on his wall.
Correct.
That's what was telling to me.
Yes.
Because that means you're going a lot, and with the way those targets looked, they didn't look like pistol rounds. They looked like decent rifle practice. It didn't look
even if
like
they were pistol rounds. It just shows intent. It shows like where his mind state was at. I think he even had one on the wall of Jesus Christ that he shot at.
Right. So we've got links now to the FBI building. We've got links to the FBI's, usually their MO and how they contact people and how they get in touch with people and how they try to push them. All of these things added up with the pie cutout of the Secret Service plan to protect Trump at this rally.
Well,
now when you go,
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Okay. Not to mention, if you look at a lot of these things, we recently had in, I think it was Flint, Michigan, they raided a house over an Islamic terrorist group. They found some rifles. What brand were those rifles, Sly Fox?
Yeah, those were fucking Daniel Defense.
Those were Daniel Defense. What rifle did Thomas Crooks use on the roof?
I don't believe it was Daniel Defense.
Really?
I think with this one, Defense learned, no, they learned their lesson with this one. It usually what they use, because if you look at like Uvalde 2. But if you look at like all the other school shootings, it's usually a Daniel Defense with a $2,500 Holosun on it, with the front
Neotech on it or something.
A Neotech with the front grip and fucking, they all look the same.
It's a government issue kind of like rifle. It's not something you would take into war, but it's damn close. It's something that they actually use, Daniel Defense rifles, Neotechs.
As a side note with that, and a point that I'd like to point out to people is that if you are a terrorist or you're some psychotic piece of shit and you're just looking to cause fucking harm, you're not going to blow $2,000 on a rifle. You're going to go to PSA, you're going to spend $200 on a lower, $200 on an upper, throw that bitch together, and you're fucking Gucci. You're going to spend $500 for everything you need. You don't even need optics, and you're going to do what you're going to do.
Yeah, you could literally get like a high point 995 carbine and throw a fucking $30 red dot on it, and that's the problem. It like Sly Fox just said, if it's just a one-time use for these crazy fuckers, they're not going to go out and spend $3,000. They don't have it either. I mean, a lot of these people, when you look at them, the kids, They're just
But you
kids.
know
They're like high
who?
school kids. They don't have like a lot of money to spend on this kind of rifle.
But you know who is gonna blow 2, 3, 4 grand on a throwaway rifle? An FBI agent who's looking to overblow their budget.
That's true.
That's what they're gonna do.
Yeah,
And I think with their budget problems lately, that's why Thomas Crooks didn't use a damn little fence.
well, not only that, but I mean, the government has a literal, building full of EOTechs and a building full of DD rifles and a building full of that. So they go grab one and they put it together.
Yeah, the shit goes missing all the time. Who fucking who cares? But the other thing with that, if in the same day or two afterwards, you had a couple of people from higher in the government on the news talking about, yeah, we did intercept some chatter about Iran having a potential threat, plot against Trump and stuff like that. So in my head, in my mind, my conspiracy theory mind riddled with all the information that I already know, I think that Trump was supposed to get got on national TV. It was going to be a splash shot. It was going to be fucking something the next 9/11, and they were going to blame Iran, and then they were going to use that as the next regime change.
Yeah, I mean, well, let's use that real quick as far as going forward, because we are going to talk about now the Charlie Kirk assassination, and that has so many like you know what a spider web is when somebody's like, you seen Sherlock Holmes?
Yeah.
With Robert Downey, and he goes, "This is my web," and he's got all the reds. That's how Charlie Kirk looks right now. It looks like there's so many different avenues for people that wanted him dead, and I'm not. Well,
I
don't want to say certain things right now because it could be slander.
All roads lead to the same thing. And
well, not necessarily. To me, all roads in my head are leading back to where the person, or we're just going to say the person that took over Turning Point.
You mean his wife was set up in the perfect position after she met him to take over? I mean, honestly, I think his whole funeral was fucking suspect, bro. Like, honestly, it was fucking insanity. Like,
the memorial was the same way. I mean, I know you're a fan of
that shit.
I know you're a fan of Tucker, but he looked drugged up at the memorial when he did that laugh.
Like he always laughs like that, though. Like that's
so he always laughs like a maniacal, crazy person.
Yes, he does. Like literally, I've watched him enough. That motherfucker laughs like that, legit. And he made a point though. He said something about that because somebody said some shit. He's like, really? Who the fuck would choose to laugh like this? He's like, it's ugly as fuck. He's like, this is my real laugh. He's like, whenever I'm obnoxious or whatever the fuck, he's like, that's legitimately me laughing, And I just thought that was kind of genuine because who the fuck would choose to laugh like a moron,
Yeah. To start with the assassination itself, I do believe that in this case, this assassination was not necessarily because Charlie Kirk was Charlie Kirk, but I think this assassination was to finish the idea that the assassination on Trump did not complete. They wanted to hit a high level right-wing person. They knew after the 2 attempts on Trump, one got caught at the golf course, that he was kind of unattainable at this point. He's too well defended. But someone like Charlie Kirk could spark the right. They could spark MAGA and things like that. Do you have any opinion on that?
Yeah, I do, because this is the way I see it. I think the reason they chose Charlie Kirk was because he was reaching the youth. My son is 15, and he introduced me to Charlie Kirk. He said, "Hey, Dad, he sent me some videos. I think you might like this guy, whatever." Everything he showed me was reasonable enough. Just conservative, basic family values. Don't be a piece of shit, whatever.
Yep.
And when he started being critical of Israel, I think that was the turning point. And not to make a pun, but I think that was the turning point because the youth started questioning it as well. And I think that when they couldn't turn anything that Charlie Kirk was questioning into anything bad or negative. But Nick Fuentes, you could. I didn't even know who the fuck he was until I just see him on every news thing, and now they're all saying he's a Nazi and all the groypers and all of this shit. Nick I didn't know who the fuck he was. But the fact that the media is propping him up though, that's a little odd. The fact that he filled that power vacuum of Charlie Kirk's death, that's odd. I think that's fucking odd, and I think they're doing it on purpose. I think that's what I think. I think Charlie Kirk was not far enough extreme for them to paint as a piece of shit.
Well, he wasn't a piece of shit. That's the problem.
No, he was a family man.
Yeah, and when you look at all the things that people complain about Charlie Kirk about, this is going to be a brief, interjection about this. it's all from clips from TikTok and things, 30-second clips, 45-second clips. They didn't even see the interaction between the person he was talking about to understand the context of the argument. So, he was set up all the time to make himself look like, or to make him look like, a racist or, things like that. When you bring up the Nick Fuentes thing, who I think is honestly a grifting piece of shit, I don't think he believes anything he talks about except for his racism. You're right. When Charlie left, they wanted to put someone even more volatile as the figurehead of the modern MAGA or modern right movement. Because when it came down to it, if you wanted to paint Charlie as someone that, like I said, was racist and wanted the left to die and things like that, that just wasn't him. In my opinion, like I'm not a fan of Nick Fuentes, but this is something we were talking about in private too, where I don't think the next president is going to be a politician. I think it's going to be someone like an influencer, a podcaster, or somebody that has millions and millions and millions of followers. Because when Trump got elected, it proved that you don't need to be in the quote unquote system to get elected to the head of that system.
Yeah, but the only reason that Trump won was because he was the only person to be calling out the deep state for what it was. When his original interaction with Hillary Clinton was just fucking gold.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why it was gold and why you don't see them have these debates in front of a live studio audience anymore is because the guy was just hitting left and right, not even with zingers, with just straight facts.
Yeah.
And that's why he won. Now, I understand what you're saying, that you don't think it's going to be a politician, that you think it's, a streamer or whoever the fuck. I applaud that you still believe that our elections are by choice.
No.
But I don't. I think that whoever they're propping up, I honestly think it's going to be.
I didn't say that the elections are good. I'm just saying I think that's the type of person they put in the White House in order to start the chaos.
Well, I mean, look at Gavin Newsom. He's literally just trying to be Trump in every way possible, and then he's trying to copy like Rogan's thing with like podcasting and shit, and it just doesn't work, man. It just feels disingenuous, and it absolutely is disingenuous because there's nobody looks like that and is a genuine person.
Well, not only that, but I mean, if you want to go into Gavin Newsom's family history, it gets rich really, really quick. So, he's not exactly a man of the people. I consider that man plastique.
No, when you spend $6-10 billion on the homeless problem, and you've got more homeless than you had before, I mean, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, it's the same thing with Chicago. They're saying they're doing stuff, so why are you $2 billion in the hole with a shithole of a city in the South Side? Like, it's, at some point, and that I wanted to cover that too real quick, is this shutdown that we had. Yes, it was partially about the ACA, but the reason it didn't get passed because of all the writers that they wanted checks sent to all their fucking cities, and Trump was tired of sending them guys, billions and billions of dollars and just having it wash out. In my opinion.
Well, I think it's kind of cute that the government's going to tell us that we can't have money because we don't know what to do with it when you guys can't pass a fucking audit.
Very good point.
I think that's really cute, but that's just me. The Pentagon hasn't passed an audit since its existence.
Well, the Pentagon got that.
Yeah, it's fucking obnoxious.
Yeah, let's go back.
But going back to the Charlie Kirk thing, yes. I firmly believe that he was taken out to be able to paint a more extreme image of the right and to have that power vacuum. But what do we even know about the fucking guy? We know nothing about the guy that shot him, other than that he had a trans girlfriend. And did you see the text messages between them? Well, the alleged messages?
That goes back to my point of the FBI or CIA, whoever, taking over social media accounts. Because there is a specific point in a lot of these cases where you see, things typed out from the person. They're like, yeah, that's the person. That's how they talk. That's how they write. That's how they type. And then it goes to the next, and it seems like it's written by some guy. You know what it reminds me of? I'm sure you used to watch To Catch a Predator, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Remember the people on the computer that thought they were so sly and they're sending the messages back and forth, and when you look at the messages and it was obvious it was sent by someone that was trying to like entrap someone. That's what these messages look like after time. It's like, well, we got this information that we want to put out, but how do we put it out? Well, we pose as the guy that did it, and we're going to send messages in his, chats and stuff, but they don't sound anything like the guy.
Even in the tone of the messages, it sounds like one person. When you do that, and you like a book writer, if a shitty writer is going to have the same tone for every character. They're going to have the same speech pattern. They're going to write the same way. And that's how those messages were. Those text messages were complete bullshit. It looked like and sounded like they were written by one person.
Well, not to mention, that shooting is another shooting that it's like, how in the fuck did he get there, and how the fuck did this shooting happen? Just like
Well,
the Trump.
nobody protects the rooftop of the fucking school.
No,
But
but
people were
considering,
yelling when they saw him up there. People were hooting and
yeah,
hollering before he got shot.
well, it's
So I
just
mean,
like
there's that.
the Crooks incident. You had people, I think it was at least an hour before the shooting, pointing up at the rooftop saying, "Hey, there's a guy up there. You guys need to check this out." And the police were like,
Yeah,
"Yep,
I've got all the transcripts from the radio from that day too, between the Secret Service, local PD, and the other security services that were there.
yeah,
But you know what? You know what's really funny? A detail that gets left out from the Charlie Kirk thing is the first suspect that they got, which I have pictures of on my page. If people go back and look for him, why was there some random old guy there with a wood pellet rifle outside that same location just after Charlie Kirk got shot? Why would
yeah."
that be unless he's a fucking patsy? Unless he was meant to be there to let the other guy go and to let the real shooter get gone.
Well, to that point, there were 2 or 3 people in the audience that day that did the same thing, just without a pellet gun. They were, dancing and screaming. They were like, woo, woo, woo. They were causing distraction down at the bottom so the guy at the top could get away. There was that one bald guy that actually came out and said, I shot him, and they arrested him and took him away. And then he was just a crazy person, from the
Yeah,
audience.
the whole thing is really odd. And then with how quick they moved around, within 2 days, the grounds that Charlie Kirk was shot on got paved over with bricks and fucking they redid the whole thing.
I've
The
never seen a crime scene erased that fast.
the company that did it was the company that owned by the dad of the shooter. That's a little odd.
Well, it's not
That's
odd; it's obvious
Yeah,
to
it's
me.
obnoxious, and it's funny too. There was a plane that was at the nearby airstrip that these fucking guys go so autistic with the things that they monitor. There's people that monitor air traffic and transponders, right? Somebody noticed that a plane came in, turned off its transponder, turned it back on when it took off for compliance, and then turned it off again. Turned it back on again after they left wherever the fuck they were leaving. So a lot of people think that the actual shooter was whisked away by the CIA or Mossad or whomever. And I don't think that this kid is the one who did it. And if he was, I mean, yeah, he
It
was
could be,
pushed to it.
The problem is, when you watch the video, and I've watched it more times than I care to, the impact of the bullet, it scans out. It looks like, came here. Well, it'd be on this side for people watching, and it hit his spine. That's when you saw that bump on his back. That was his spine blowing out. And did you hear all that?
Yeah, I heard you.
Yeah. Okay. You couldn't cause that kind of impact with a close range pistol. You could only that kind of impact is a rifle, impact.
Oh yeah, he was, and even just watching his spasm in the way his hand drops the microphone, he was dead before he hit the ground.
Right.
He was almost instant. He knew something hit him, and then he was dead. That was fucking it.
Yeah.
Almost
Which
instantaneous.
the
There's a
same thing.
photo going. Well, there's a photo going around right now of him on dead on the hospital stretcher with like gauze and shit over this wound. I don't know if it's real. It looks pretty real to me, but like
Yeah.
a lot of these people that were talking about, oh, his mic blew up and that's what killed him and all this bullshit.
They've never
I
seen an
cannot
impact.
fucking stand it, bro. Or the people that are like, oh, a 30-06 would have blew his fucking head off. No,
Well, it
it
would have if
wouldn't,
it hit his
guys.
head.
Yeah, if it hit his head, sure. But it hit him in the neck and got stuck in the spine. You ever shoot a deer
Yeah.
with a fucking 30-06? It gets stuck in bone sometimes. These things fucking happen.
Yeah, and I wasn't saying that you couldn't kill him in that manner with a pistol. I'm just saying the way that bullet hit him in the camera from the back is what sold me that it was the narrative that they were pushing, that a sniper from the rooftops. Like I said, when you saw the end of that shot in slow mo, you could see all his thoracic vertebrae just bubble up like this. They're wondering, like, why didn't the bullet go in the background and kill somebody? Well, it's obvious if you watch the video.
Oh
His
yeah.
spine went boop and took the. I mean, I think it would be odd that would happen, but at the same time, funnier things have happened with bullets. So
Yeah, I mean, at least it's no JFK magic bullet. You know what I mean?
no, but
But
yeah.
I do think it's odd though that they said that he dismantled the rifle with just
Wait
a
a minute.
screwdriver and an Allen wrench.
Wait
And
a
then,
minute. Our friend Woodbooger thinks it was a 22 mag at best. 22 mags do not have that kind of velocity.
Yeah.
And they don't have the weight like that. In
He
order for
wouldn't
that,
have,
a 22 mag would not have blown his spine back like that.
and he wouldn't have died instantly. He would have been, you know what I mean? He would have been
Yeah,
at least breathing and trying to fight for his life. He wouldn't have just collapsed and dropped the fuck. Like, you watch his hand, he death spasms, bro.
yeah,
It's lights out as soon as he drops
yeah.
that microphone. It's
Well, that's from
fucking,
the
he's
bullet.
done.
That's from his spine being blown up too. As soon as he did
Period.
that, yeah, a 22 mag just doesn't have that kind of power.
No, I mean, I'm gonna disagree. That's like the same kind of people that are saying it was a 5.7 from the crowd.
No, yeah, it wouldn't have caused that kind of impact. That's the whole thing that sold me on what type of impact it was. 200 yards, max velocity, hollow point. No, it would not. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, but I think also with this being another case where somebody used the, granddad's old rifle, I think it was another thing for like the bolt actions. They're going to come for your hunting rifles, or because it's unserialized or hard to track down, they're going to come for the vintage and sporting guns because they're you don't really need a license for them, especially if they're old enough.
So Woodburger, it didn't exit the body. That's what we're talking about. The bullet did not exit the body. That's why there
It got
wasn't a big
stuck in the
splash in the
spine.
bag. It got
His security specialist was on Sean Ryan a day or two ago, and he was talking about all this stuff.
yeah.
So, I mean, I didn't watch it yet. I probably should have watched it before we did the show. But I mean, if anybody was interested, yeah, his security specialist is on there. He even talks about the whole exploding light thing being bullshit.
Yeah. So I mean, when we go back to the assassin himself, it fits a pattern that they're using nowadays, which is just we got a loner, he's left wing. Let's wash his mind up and get him to shoot. So, do you think we're expecting any more high-level assassinations in the future, or is there somebody that I wouldn't say is a target for assassinations, but do you see anything bubbling up? Like the only thing bubbling up that I see right now is a war between Christians and Islamists that is starting out. I mean, did you see the thing in Dearborn, Michigan, with the protests?
Yeah, I still think it's bullshit. That one Christian guy carrying the cross is a paid agitator.
Oh, of course he is.
Yeah, I
But that
think
doesn't mean that
anytime
it's
you
not
see
going to
any of that,
escalate.
especially the fact that it's on the news, disregard it completely.
Well, yeah,
Regard it completely. It's bullshit, all of it.
Correct, but
I think the fact that Dearborn, Michigan exists, I think that's their American freedom of religion. I don't see anything wrong with that. But it's a kind of funny though, because if you look at, I don't remember if it was Houston or Dallas, one of the two. They also have dozens and dozens of mosques and Islamic churches that have sprang up over the last 2 years.
Yep.
That's a little odd. But I think that people know, I don't remember her real name, but she also goes on Sean Ryan so often. She was a CIA targeter, goes by Superbad, the blonde chick, kind of chubby,
Yes,
yeah. So she's for the last 4 years almost. She's been saying that all these terrorists are here and they're plotting and all these things. I'm not going to negate the fact that we have terrorists here. We do. But if there were anybody actually serious, they could do major harm any day of the week, and we couldn't stop them.
So,
period. Just like we said earlier, with $300, you can go and do unspeakable acts of horror for $300.
But here's the thing with that. So, the Muslims now know that they cannot compete with American might when it comes to gun versus gun. They can't do it. They'll get wiped out. But what they can do, and which they realized in the UK, and what they realized in France, and what they realized in Germany, if they flood the country and get their birth rate up high enough, they will replace. You remember we were talking about the replacement theory, right? So the entire British mainland, I think it's up to 70% now municipalities that are controlled by Islam. They took over Great Britain without a shot fired.
Because they're also relying on the fact that the locals don't vote.
Well, what I'm saying is they don't need to commit terrorist quote unquote acts anymore when they can use our government and just have this amazing birth rate. And I'm going to say it: they marry their cousins over and over and over. They're just sitting there, having 7 wives. It means you get 7 kids at one time if you want.
And I'm not going to negate that. I'm not going to negate that fact, and I do believe that Great Replacement theory is correct. I do believe that. And we're seeing it in America here with local governments being taken over by practicing Muslims. And I don't think that if you're a dual citizen of any country other than America, period, if you're a dual citizen, period, you should not have any state office. You shouldn't have any say in anything that we fucking do because you already have allegiance to another state.
Yeah. And I guess I wouldn't, being that I am a follower of Christ, I'm not saying that people that are Islamic are my enemy. I don't think that way. But the ideology of what they set in place is. So when you talk about Catholics and Judaism and things like that, they don't have a segment of things that says the government needs to be, adherent to the laws that we provide. With Sharia law, that's a real thing. So when you start getting these people in places of power and you start getting them in the police department and things like that, they're going to practice Sharia law above American law because they think that is the law that they need to follow. So when you have this coming into the Western society where we have all our laws that are based on Christian morals and things like that, and you try to change that, it's what people talk about all the time with, Islam is not compatible with the West, and they don't want to assimilate. They don't want to be part of our culture. They want to create their culture, the caliphate. So I think we need to look at this. Well, I think we need to look at this more seriously when we're talking about, are they a problem? Are they, trying to take over the U.S.?
Let them
Why
be
would you have that? You just want the fucking boogaloo.
I mean,
You just want the damn thing to kick off.
Let them be a problem. I don't fucking care. And that's kind of the beauty of that's the beauty of the whole fucking thing. It doesn't matter. This is America. When we do have a problem, we sort our shit out. If these motherfuckers become a problem, we will sort that shit out when we get to it.
What happens
until
when
that
they become
point,
a problem and people don't notice and they're like 70% of the population?
Then it's our fault. Then we did it to ourselves. We had it coming. The UK, they had it coming. They did it to them fucking selves. Germany, they had it coming. Themselves. They did it to them fucking selves. Ain't happening here.
Well, no, we're not going to disarm the country here, and that's the problem. I mean, if it comes down to it, Americans are armed and we will defend our turf and things like that. But that's what I knew something. I didn't know it was going to be Islam, but I knew something was going to happen to Great Britain as far as a takeover in some sort or an infiltration of some sort when they took the damn guns away from the citizens. Because if you look at the history of Great Britain, they've never, ever been conquered until I think they're getting really close to being conquered right now just through infiltration and government.
Well, that's the thing. You can conquer the land, but you can't conquer the banking system. The banking system is what happened when the British Empire collapsed. They turned into the bank. And that's how you truly control a nation. They gave India their land back. They gave, 78 other countries their fucking land back and said, oh, well, you know what? We got this thing called a bank. We'll teach you how to use it. We hold all your money. It's fine. It's safe with us. You guys are still getting started out. And then they just never gave it back to them. So when you have that conglomerate, you don't need to hold the land. It doesn't fucking matter. Even if they lose the island themselves, if they lose the UK themselves, they still have the power because they have the bank. They still have the crown. It's still backed by the fucking crown.
Kind of, because if the Islamists and the Muslims, they don't care about, and look at modern day Middle East. It's I'm not going to say it's a piece of shit, but it's nothing. They don't have the technology. They don't have the infrastructure. They don't care.
And they had it before we fucking destroyed it. If you look at what Afghanistan used to look like before the Muslims came, before it got taken over by the fucking Taliban, it was a paradise. The women went to college. They could wear what the fuck they wanted. They could drive. They could be in public on their own.
Law.
Before the Taliban took over, the Middle East was fucking great. And it's funny because there was a guy that was talking about that. He was like spec ops, whatever. So he was in country in Iraq, early days of the invasion. And he ran into some people that were traveling and he was like, yeah, you guys fucked this all up. He's like, what are you talking about? He's like, yeah, Baghdad used to be lit. It used to be better than the Las Vegas. It was the Las Vegas of the Middle East. People would go to Baghdad from all over Europe and all over Central Asia because that was the party city. Cocaine, women, free gas, everything was cheap as fuck. They lived it up until we invaded and bombed the shit out of it.
I mean, that's a good point. I can't argue that point. We kind of contributed to the destruction of these societies.
We didn't contribute it. We were the cause.
We destroyed their societies. I guess my point with the Islam thing right now that is different, and it's been the same way throughout 1400 years of Islam, is the inbreeding that we have to talk about. Because these people, when I say they don't care about infrastructure, they just care about land and taking it over. I was looking the other day at some statistics. I don't have them pulled up, so don't take these statistics as word. But it's something like in Pakistan, 65% of practicing Muslims marry their cousin. So, and if you go to Saudi Arabia, I think it's like 48% of practicing Muslims marry their cousin. If you go through all the Muslim countries, it's almost 50% or greater of the Muslims that are in that country marry their first cousins. So you wonder why.
So you don't think that the fact that they have small towns of less than 100 people has any factor in that?
Do you know how many there's 2 billion Muslims in the Middle East, right? There's big
Yeah,
cities.
Middle East spread. Yeah, 2 billion of them spread between
They're saying in the
15
entire
countries.
country, 65% of Muslims marry their first cousin. This is on
Yeah,
purpose.
look at how
It's in the Quran.
desolate these countries are.
They're
They've got
still
what,
doing it,
one,
Kurt.
two major. Yeah, I understand that. I'm not negating that fact. I'm simply saying that it's
It's
what
part of
comes
their
first.
culture.
What comes first, the chicken or the egg? Is it the fact
Well,
that you've got 100 people in this fucking town and you're banging your cousin, or is it the fact that it's part of your culture and it's okay because they don't see anything wrong with that?
yes,
Which is it? Is it the chicken or the egg?
I'm not gonna go with the chicken or the egg right now. I'm gonna go with the fact that when they fled to Germany under refugee status, they did it there. When they fled to France under refugee status, they did it there. When they went to the United Kingdom, how do you think they got 65% of the municipalities in like 30 years? They do it there as well. It's part of the culture. It's in the Quran that says you can marry your first cousin, and not only that you can, but even Muhammad's lineage married his first cousin. So
Right,
it's
and
part of the culture, and
it's a systemic
it
issue.
leads to autistic issues. It leads to retardation. It leads to Down syndrome. It leads to heavy disorders. So when you start doing this over time, let's say if you're looking at it like a tree or something. So you got A and B. They're both first cousins, so they marry each other and have kids. That kid now goes asks another cousin or maybe one of the brothers of their mother and father to marry in. Now you got this compound issue. It exponentially grows over time if you keep doing it. So
Yeah, I'm not negating that fact, and that's how you end up with the IQ being what it is.
right, but what does IQ lead to? It leads to anger. The lower your IQ is, the more angry you are about shit. So that's why you see so many Muslims in the street and stealing people's shit and beating them up. You have a very low IQ group of people that have a couple of high IQ people telling them how to work. They're not going to question it. They're just going to be the day laborers that go out and fuck shit up.
Yeah, it's almost you almost get to a hive mind aspect of it, and it's kind of it's dehumanizing to put it in that kind of term, but
I'm sorry.
you get to that point though.
Yeah, I mean it's just a reality. I'm not trying to offend anybody or like that, but I mean it is a statistical reality that this is happening, and it's leading to more people that can't think. The
Now,
more angry people.
let me ask you that if there we have this amount of Muslims, let's say you got 1 million Muslims in this country.
Sure.
Let's say out of that million, you've got 300,000 that are Muslim extremists that
Sure.
believe in the jihad, that look for the caliphate, that want all this to go through. Why don't we see anything from them? Is my point.
Because they're
My
not
question
there
is,
yet. They're not there. They've learned.
they
They have
are that they
learned.
came here.
No, but they
We have
learned that they have
we
to have
have
numbers before they attack. They'll get wiped out. That's not enough people.
300,000 because
That's not enough.
if you listen to the new Al Qaeda method and the new terrorism method, it's no longer about having small cells of 10, 12 people. Now these are lone wolf cells.
Yeah, but
Every operator is his own cell in itself, and they have
right.
their own orders, they have their own abilities, they have their own stockpile, they have their own plans. Now, why don't we see any action from them? The only action we've seen was the one guy that drove his truck through New Orleans during Mardi Gras. That shit got buried really quick.
I think the entirety of the Muslim population, let's say that, and this is just something I'm granting. I'm not saying this is true, but let's say 100% of Muslims in the country believe that they need to install the new caliphate, the world caliphate, which is the goal of Islam, and install Sharia law. So if they all believe that and they're not doing anything about it right now, that shows, or it should show, that there are higher orders that they're operating on, because they have seen, like if you just go back to the UK for a minute, they have seen that they can enter a country, not fire around, and get control of the government within, let's say, 30, 40 years. They've seen that. So they know, going back in the past, that all their terroristic efforts, with bombs and guns and things like that, they always get blown out of the water. So why keep wasting lives, and why keep doing that if you can actually infiltrate the government with no one noticing? Because this is not.
Because no price is too great for the Allah, for the holy war. There is no price too great. And when you get to this level of Muslim extremism where they're fucking terrorists and assassinating people, why in the last 10 years, I'll ask you that. In the last 10 fucking years, when was the last time you heard about a Muslim extremist country or a Muslim extremist, whatever the fuck, assassinating somebody?
They haven't, because they've been busy taking over countries.
Now, when was the last time you heard about Mossad assassinating somebody? fairly fucking recent.
Actually, let's go into that real quick since we are we kind of sidetracked on Islam real quick, but let's go into that real quick because we are on an assassination topic tonight. I would like Slider Fox to go ahead and expand on this Mossad thing because my stance is I support not support Jewish people are fine as far as their religion and things like that, but then when you separate Judaism from the IDF and Netanyahu and Mossad, it's almost like, in my opinion, like America is a quote unquote Christian country. But if our government does something to somebody else and then they say, well, it's the Christians, well, I didn't authorize that. That's not what I believe. That's not how Christians work. You kind of have to separate the government, in this opinion, from the people. And I know there's a whole spiel we can go on later about Judaism and things with you, but we'll just leave it at that for tonight. That context.
I'll put it like this. So the IDF and Mossad had a deal with Boston Dynamics. They got those robot dogs, right?
Yeah.
Now, Boston Dynamics had a clause that they give to every customer with every sale. This is not to be used and armed. You are not to arm this device. Arming this device will void your contract and you will turn all of our property back over to us.
Yeah, but why buy it if you don't want to arm it? That's the fun part.
So what they did was they strapped a fucking 50 cal Barrett to the motherfucker and assassinated 2 Iranian nuclear scientists.
When was this?
Like 3 or 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Now, is there official documentation on this that this happened like that?
Yeah, Boston Dynamic issued them a cease and desist. They wanted their shit back. They're like, you guys can't fucking do this. This is exactly what we told you not to do.
And yeah, Mossad is like the CIA of Israel, but it seems like Mossad, they don't have as good of cover-ups as the CIA does. When the CIA does something you don't know, and then
Mossad doesn't. You know. They don't need to cover it up because they can hide behind. Oh, well, you caught me. Well, you're an anti-Semite. You caught me. You're an anti-Semite because you caught me. Sorry, I'm getting away free. I'm going back to Israel now because you're an anti-Semite.
And there's a good point that brought up as well in my head, at least. When we talked about Islam a minute ago, we're talking about like 2 billion Muslims in the Middle East and things like that. Israel is a city composed of 10 million people. So you got 10 million people trying to stave off 2 billion. Those 2 billion can't get anywhere near the capital. It's interesting to me because, the technology and the military assets that Israel has, it doesn't matter what, Iran tried to, send missiles at them and didn't do shit.
You're wrong. Iran.
Well, no, they did hit.
I have the videos. They hit a bunch of shit because there's no
the Iron Dome didn't work completely.
It didn't. It failed horribly, and you can't defend against hypersonic fucking missiles. You can't. I have a video that I can bring up too that shows the difference between a regular missile and a hypersonic missile. You can't defend against it. And they even said the day after that following morning, they told their people, hey, stop posting videos about it. It is now illegal to post videos of these strikes because it shows our enemies our weaknesses. Not that we have any, but it could potentially show them our weaknesses. And they kept trying to say that no rockets hit, but I had videos of the shit blowing buildings up.
I saw the same videos. So I'm not arguing that point. I guess my thing is with that is you got 10 million versus 2 billion. And when you were talking about, Islamic terrorists and things like that, the entire world of Islam wants Israel flattened. Why can't 2 billion people or whatever flatten an area of 10 million? Why don't they just, you remember the October 7th attacks and things like that? Why couldn't they do that on a massive scale?
Because it's not a matter of why can't they. It's question why haven't they? You know that they could. They've already almost pushed Israel into the fucking sea several times. Now, it's kind of funny that you bring up October 7th when we talk about assassinations and times like that. Why is it that we had news cameras there, news people there, getting action shots of them getting away with people on motorcycles, action shots of them parachuting in? Why did it take them more than an hour and a half to respond when it's a 30-minute helicopter ride from Tel Aviv?
So you're making a point here, and I want to make sure that even though you haven't said anything about this, I think this is what you're thinking because I am telepathic. Are you saying, not saying, but thinking that Israel controls everything, even Islam?
I think they control Hamas. I think they control. I think Hamas is an Israeli Mossad op. I think that there's no. They have been proven to not even give a fuck about their own people. They will sacrifice Jews if it means pushing their image forward and for the greater Jerusalem We can get
Christians as
to
well, of
Greater
course.
Jerusalem as well. But yeah, they don't give a fuck. When it comes
No.
down to securing the land, they will sacrifice their own people, and they've proven that on numerous occasions.
Hmm.
But I think that that the IDF I think they control Hamas. I don't think Hamas is even a terrorist group anymore. I think it's definitely the
They make
same
them
way
up as
that
they go along.
it's the same way that CIA controlled Al Qaeda
And then
and
ISIS
still
popped
continues
up,
to
and
do
then
so,
ISIS
and
popped out.
ISIS.
Yeah,
Right. So
they're
I firmly
manufactured.
believe that they manufactured the October 7th to level Gaza. I think that was the plan all along.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, I mean there you can prove it. It's the easiest way to do that at false flag, especially in the Middle East. You all look alike.
Yeah,
You know
that's
what I mean?
true.
You just dress like the enemy, and then now you're one of them. You throw on a green bandana, and now you're Hamas.
Yeah, it's a good point because I mean, it'd be the same thing in America. You got two white dudes and two on different sides. If you swapped their clothes and gave them different fucking flags to hold up, how could you tell they're not if you didn't know them?
Period.
Yeah,
Period. I mean, I throw a Hawaiian shirt on you, you're me, and I throw on just my hoodie, and I'm you.
yeah. As far as like perceived, what people perceive us to be, it's real easy to disguise someone. So
I mean, look at Patriot Front here in the U.S. Patriot Front was absolutely a Fed honeypot ran by the FBI, 1,000%.
I
Because it
don't remember what that
wasn't
was.
Patriot Front was those fucking idiots that had tan pants and navy shirts, and they were all dressed the
Oh,
same. They had the face masks and the hats
the
and the
obvious
sunglasses,
feds.
and they had the police escort back through the subway,
I
and
remember
police
that.
escort in and out of their fucking their things.
Yeah, they were even dressed like fucking. They looked like they were dressed like they came straight out of Fed Academy.
Yeah, literally. There was just wear your khaki pants that you would normally wear to work. It's part of your uniform anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah, the Patriot Front. It's prime example. These things happen, and I think that the fact that the Israel used October 7th to level Gaza and turn 3 to 7 million people homeless and to slaughter women and children with impunity, I think that's ridiculous. I think it's
what do
and the
you think
fact
of?
that nobody's looked into it is
Well,
insane.
it's the same reason. Like we go back to Charlie Kirk. We haven't heard about his shooter or the court hearings or anything like that in a month.
We're not
So
going to. We're not
no,
going to. We haven't heard shit about Thomas Crooks, and it's been almost 2 years or a year and a half.
yeah. You go to Woodbugger here. He says they have plans to cut out a new canal, and I'm assuming he means cut a canal where the Gaza Strip is. I mean, that wouldn't be. I mean, a moat is a moat. That would stop foot traffic from entering Israel.
Yeah, he's talking about the canal for trade. What they were trying to do is I think when Trump was talking about turning the Gaza Strip into the Riviera of the Middle East, I don't think that's far off. I think what they were going to do is they were going to level Gaza and turn it into the port of Gaza, a
Mm-hmm.
joint U.S. and Israel effort, and and give jobs to all the Palestinians and put them up in housing and basically creating a new slave force essentially to work the port of Gaza, which would be the new entryway into the Middle East and from the Far East into Europe.
Well,
I think that's the grand scheme.
and it would give the government one of its favorite little toys, which is called a forward operating base. We don't have one necessarily in the region. We operate through Israel, but if we had a port, well, then we could
No,
put a
no, no,
base
no,
there.
no, 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 no. We don't operate through Israel at all. We don't have shit we can operate through there. They don't even have an airfield that
No,
we can
I'm
use.
saying like when we bombed Iran's nuclear sites, that wasn't on us. That was through Israel. Israel wanted that. When I say through Israel, I mean we operate. What Israel wants to happen, we operate off that, and we use.
Yeah, why is that though? Why are we doing what a foreign government tells us to
Well, we
do?
don't know.
How are they our greatest ally if we can't even have a military base on their land?
Well, the question I have to ask, that's a good point. So, according to the U.S., with terrorism going on the last since let's call it year 2000, the biggest enemy that the government uses is terrorism. So we need Israel in the site to control that. In my opinion, we need information. We need guys on the ground and things like that. I mean,
But
I
when
would actually
90% of the information they give us is bullshit, and when
bullshit
every time we invite them into they're not allowed in our intelligence headquarters anymore because every single time they would come by,
deal
they'd give
shit.
us a gift that would be bugged. Every
Yeah.
time they come by, they try to do something. And okay, sorry, how did that get in there? Come on, guys, are you fucking serious? Get over it. They're not
Well,
allowed in our shit anymore.
and it seems like in the Middle
They're
East
not
in
our
general.
ally. They're not our fucking
Well,
ally. What they are is they're the ones holding our leash. That's what they are.
Well, it goes, and you talk about bad information as well. I mean, remember when 9/11, not 9/11, the Iraqi war started? It was based on WMDs from a guy named Curveball. He was a guy in Jordanian intelligence that fed us all that false information. So we never get good information out of that area, anyways. But we
So
always
you
use
don't
that
you don't
information
you
to
don't
go
find it a
back.
coincidence that that list of countries that Israel gave us to overthrow in
Was
the
it 7
'90s
countries, right?
was seven countries in 7 years?
Yeah.
It
Obama
took us
started that.
it took us no, Obama didn't start that. That started in 2001
Or
with
does that
9/11.
start with the Afghanistan and Iraq?
Yes, it starts with Afghanistan, Iraq, then goes
Okay.
on to Yemen and goes into, all the rest of them. Iran is the
Syria,
last one on, yeah,
Lebanon.
Syria, Lebanon. Iran is the last one on that list. And that's why every time any of these people mention anything about Iran, this or that, I'm calling bullshit. I'm calling bullshit specifically because if Iran wanted to do shit, they'd have fucking done it already. If they wanted a nuclear program, they'd have fucking had it already. Netanyahu has been saying for 30 years, he's been saying that they are 1 month away, a week away, a
That's
year
true.
away, 2 years away, one
But
month
yet,
away.
we're okay with North Korea having it.
Exactly. Israel. Now, riddle me this. Answer me this question. It is forbidden by American law to give military aid to a nuclear capable country. Israel has like 12 nukes. That's a nuclear
They got
capable
more than
country.
that.
Why are we helping them with military aid? That's against our laws.
Well, let's go in to end the show. I would say tonight. Let's because you want to talk about it anyways. It always comes up. Let's go with this IPAC thing. What is IPAC exactly? I know what IPAC is, but what is it to the people watching, and what is it? Why is it so dangerous in your opinion?
APAC is the American Israel Lobby. It's a foreign entity that uses foreign money to influence our legislators to be pro-Israel in their votes.
Yeah,
The most prominent of that would be Ted Cruz from Florida. If you watched him on Tucker Carlson calls him out about it, and Ted Cruz gives the best answers ever. He dances around it.
sorry. So yeah, with that, I want to come back to America real quick. So you think all the pro-Palestinian protesters on the left? Do you think is that just the flavor of the day for protest? Do you think that was done on purpose through things like this?
Both. I think a lot of that was Soros funded. We have the paperwork to prove that those protests were being planned within 2 weeks of October 7th. We already know that was a whole thing. They went so far as to have cash apps listed for bail money requests, which I sent a few requests to some of them. I didn't get any money. I got rejected a few times, but I
But
thought it was gonna be funny as fuck if they did it.
who uses Cash App? This is the retarded shit I'm talking about. Like when you're setting something up as a CIA or something, I think you'd be a little less stupid than to use
No,
Cash App.
this is in the days of the USAID. This now currently the USAID doesn't exist anymore. Now it's been defunded. So those projects are back to the CIA's backlist. But back then, USAID was able to funnel all this money through nonprofit organizations and to have these things happen. They took on the projects that the CIA deemed that they weren't going to fucking deal with.
That's fair. It
But
just
yeah,
seems like
that's
overall in these assassinations that we're talking about, there's always just obvious evidence that could have been avoided if they really tried.
well, there's obvious evidence to cover up, and there's obvious evidence that if the FBI claims to be so competent, how are you so incompetent so frequently?
Because they're told to be incompetent. That was my point at like the beginning of the show. The FBI is only going to do what they're told, even if they have all the information. They got, let's say they have hardcore 100% information that this was the shooter and this is the reason why. If the CIA tells them, nah, you ain't releasing that, this is the story you're running with, well, the FBI and Cash Patel or whoever clown is up there, they're going to end up looking like clowns because they're not allowed.
Well, Cash Patel just came out today, like several hours ago, like literally 2 hours before we started, and said that, yeah, Thomas Crooks acted alone. There's no evidence that he had any help. That's it. We're done. It was just Thomas Crooks. That's it. We're done.
That's my
No
point.
más.
Yeah, he's being told what to say. He doesn't. He's not allowed to. No.
No, I don't think that there's interagency cooperation. I don't think that the CIA goes to the FBI and says, "Hey, we're running this up. Stay the fuck out of the way." I think that they just let the shit ride, and just like they did with Epstein when he got
Mhm.
fucking caught, they told him, "Hey, you cannot do anything to this man. He is intelligence."
So
Period.
you don't think there's a hierarchy, and the hierarchy determines what happens below and the smaller rungs.
No, the interagency cooperation isn't a thing. I firmly believe that it's just pure incompetency.
Well,
They
okay.
rely on each other being in the dark and incompetent.
I guess we'll differ on that point, but this has been a fantastic show tonight. I really enjoyed talking about American history. sadly, this is a part of American history. A lot of assassinations have happened. I'm sure we'll see more, unfortunately. Is there anything else you'd like to say to your fans tonight, Mr. Sly Fox?
Yeah, long live the igloo, man. When the shit finally does go down, we all know the drill.
Yes, we do. And Zach Skellington, do you have any words for the? You got any words from Zach Skellington back there?
Nah, man, but he needs his cigarette lit.
He does need a cigarette lit. That is the point. There we go. Much
All right,
better.
all right, all is right in the world. Take us out,
There it
Pat.
is. All right. Thank you for tuning in to Welcome to the Foxhole Episode 3. We will be back next week with, I think we had a topic for next week.
Oh yeah, we got a topic, but on that note, for the topic for next week, I'm gonna list it. We're gonna need some panel members, so anybody that wants in on this, give me a holler. I'm gonna have a post about it on the page on Welcome to the Foxhole. Yeah, that's it, man. Next week's gonna be a good show.
What was the topic for next week?
The topic for next week is: can you take out a Terminator with just what's in your EDC?
Oh,
Can you take
yes.
out the fucking Terminator?
Yes, and
A
this came up.
T800.
This came up because I tend to use AI a lot for dumb shit, and Sly absolutely fucking hates it.
I
And
fucking can't stand it.
Yeah, and I understand his beef with it. I mean, every time you interact with AI, you're teaching the system, you're making it better. So, yeah, we're going to get on that next week, and we're going to determine whether or not a T800 can be pierced by a rifle round.
All right.
So thank you, all you Sly Foxians out there. We will see you next Friday at the same time. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Have a good night.
All right, guys.
Single 3, single 4, single 5. Put your hands up if you let a single lie. She smacked on